Hello and welcome to the Brothers Slim. My name's Cam, and today we're starting some Cosmere RPG coverage. So, like many folks out there, Brandon Sanderson has been a favorite author of mine for, probably a couple of decades at this point. I read his book in thunderstorms on planes, on 16-hour bus rides on the other side of the world, and have absolutely shed many a tears through these stories. So when this came into crowdfunding and just his content in general in crowdfunding, was super stoked. Obviously, you don't need to throw too many accolades at the man. He is a man, a myth, a modern legend in the writing sphere, and so it's no wonder that he's been so successful. But yeah, I actually got to be a alpha beta playtester for this too, so it's been really cool having just a little teeny tiny bit of input here and there too, and haven't seen it yet, but I think my name is actually in the book along with the rest of the playtesters too, which is really cool. But that is enough little preamble today. We are going to be covering the Welcome to Roshar PDF that was available. I can't remember if it was a stretch goal or not, but I freaking love this because the world itself is quite strange and alien, and to paraphrase Sanderson, at some point in his career, he basically said, to paraphrase once again, that he didn't write this series to start for a few different reasons, and one of them being the world was a little bit too big, weird, and out there, so he needed to be an established author with a well-regarded series first, so that he could build enough trust for readers to actually go with him on this journey as he created this world and welcomed everybody into it. So I think having this as a handout for literally anyone, people well-versed in the Cosmere, people not familiar at all, it's perfect because speaking as someone with a good amount of imagination, having these visual aids is just fantastic. And as someone who's playtested the game and haven't gotten a chance to play the full release thing yet, that's realistically probably going to be about a year or so off from now. But from playtesting it, trying to remember all the little nuance of the setting and different little things, which we'll cover throughout a bit of today's video, was a challenge to remember to do and to fit in when already trying to establish a scene and such as well. Because I find when I'm DMing, trying to fit in 2 or 3 of the senses when I'm setting the scene is enough already, and then trying to describe some very specific descriptors and creatures and landscapes and such was an added challenge. So perfect handout for folks familiar and not with the Cosmere. As a quick aside, getting started here too, I saw this in a comment on the crowdfunding page, and PDFs often will have the cover on the left and then immediately jump into the content. So what you want to do so that you don't ruin the nice double spreads of art and such throughout any of these PDFs is, for Adobe Reader at least, if you go into here, there's either a single page view or a 2-page view. I'm on my computer right now, so we're doing it 2-page. However, if you show cover page, it pops the cover up onto a separate page, meaning if there are any double spreads, so for example, some nice pages of art, or the character stuff in the actual Stormlight's handbook, it keeps them nice and together, which is good and provides the pages to be succinct as well. But anyway, so that is enough preamble round 2. Let's get into it. Little preamble about what this book is, which you've kind of covered already. Is there anything that we want to say from it specifically? Yeah, I think we've covered that already. So we'll just go on. And I got to say, there's a lot more artists mentioned in the other books, but it is wild to me how small this list of people is that contributed to this project. It is, and this might just be this Welcome to Roshar PDF, because I think, like I said, there's more folks mentioned in the other one, but still, still wild. Alrighty, Roo. So in future videos, I'm probably going to touch on more the art itself more. Spoiler alert, the art is fantastic and really diverse in really good ways. But yeah, so here is just a quick little inclination of what the world looks like. Racked with storms, it flows from east to west, approximately once a month, but not always. And that storm carries within it the magic of the setting called Stormlight. Comparison there being basically like, hey, you only got electricity in your house for maybe half an hour of each year, and the more you use it, the quicker it's gone. And that power only comes when the storms go by monthly. That also translates into spheres, which are currency of the setting. So there's an example of what different spheres look like. And when the high storm goes by, they are glowing and stay glowing for several days, as per the blurb we have here. And the glowing ones are also used in lanterns and such too. So torches, very uncommon. Sphere lanterns, the way to go in the world of Roshar. And a vast supercontinent. So picture Pangea, but instead of dinosaurs, there is so many crustaceans. Crabs on crabs on crabs, and I'm here for it. Crabs and barnacles, because all of the flora are basically barnacle-like. Barnacle-like, or like the most resilient weeds you could ever imagine. And it's got 3 moons. You can just see a little purple one down at the bottom there, and then 2 more up top there. And very, very indicative of the setting, and I think it's actually on the cover, The Way of Kings, the first book, is a set of shard plate armor. So shard plate, if you're not familiar, it's basically like a mix of medieval knightly plate armor mixed with a little dose of magic, let's say. Yeah. And that's I don't know if I want to touch on anything that's like really spoilery or such, but it's tied into the magic system, and there's all kinds of fun shenanigans that come out. It's very rare, and it's not very understood at the beginning of the series. So we'll leave it there. But yeah, seeing it in the art form, like we've seen it in the book covers and such, and it looks great. But seeing it in the RPG form is really cool. Ready-roo. Let's see. Onwards we go. This is awesome to see too. So these are examples of flora and fauna. These little critters, I don't think we've actually seen reference to in any of the books. So just kind of expanding on like the world itself. These are axe hinds, which are kind of like antelope or gazelles kind of creatures, just judging from the name. There are axe hounds, which feature every now and then in the book, which are kind of like bug wolves, you could say, insectile wolf creatures. And so case in point, very much plant-like barnacle life called rock buds. Very cool. And then a whole bunch of different named trees too. It kind of gives me like if coral lived on land, basically. Kind of like that. So really cool to see, once again, like the ecology of the world all expanded and such. And up here is a remote part of the world, which looks quite familiar to our setting, shall we say. So I won't get into too much there, but it's one of the only places in the setting which actually has like more normal life as we here on Earth or similar planets would notice. And so there's a healthy amount of chickens in that picture too, which is always cool. Onwards we go. Cool. Some more fauna here. Once again, talking about crab life represent. I think, let's see, does it say... So most animals on Roshar possess hardened exoskeletons or leathery hide to protect their bodies from severe weather or other beasts. Aside from domesticated hogs and minks, mammals are very rare indeed, except for that one location that was in that previous picture. And so crabs is kind of like the go-to, I'd say like internet speak for all the creatures here. But I do really enjoy that it's kind of expanded in the book here to mollusks, amphibians, and crustaceans rather than just crabs. So shows some kind of diverse life. White spine, what does it say? Pack hunter, which I don't know if we knew previously, but the size of a horse, very cool. Kremlings, I love that they're... Arthropods aren't generally cute. They're cool animals for sure, but they're kind of creepy looking. And they look so adorable. I'm here for it. The Chasm Fiend, or Chasm Fiend, if you prefer to pronounce it, is probably one of like the poster images for the Stormlight Archive, and just like a extremely evocative critter for this setting. And critter is not the right term because it is an apex predator that is bigger than a house. And I think this piece of art is actually taken from the Chasm Fiend magazine volume 2, which is available digitally through a little backer kit pre-order, and is going to be available in person at Gen Con also. Marine great shell. So great shells, we'll touch on those really quick. A Chasm Fiend is considered a great shell, as are many other giant creatures. So great shell is kind of a synonymous term for apex massive critter. If, for example, a normal fantasy dragon, let's say like a ancient black dragon from D&D, just for something that might be familiar, happened to land on Roshar, it would be very likely considered a great shell by the locals. Alrighty, so we touched on it really quick. There's an axe hound, another little local fauna there is sky eel. And this has got to be probably one of my favorite critters in the whole setting. The Chull. Yo homeboy, gotta love the Chull. Basically just a giant hermit crab, and I think in most of the art we've seen they're depicted about this size, so kind of like a big oxen beast of burden, except it's an adorable giant crab, which curls back into its shell when it's threatened and is a favorite snack of Chasm Fiends. A little nod here is that they can grow to almost twice the size of this art, and again, this is about the standard art we've ever seen them in, so just kind of a fun little frame of reference for if you want to expand on Chulls in the game yourself. Without getting into any details, I actually kind of want to shift the story of the campaign that I want to run eventually to have a more of a focus on Chulls. They are so cute and cool. So that's my thoughts. Also, horses and rhyshadium. So that shard plate, I don't know if I actually called it shard plate, but this is shard plate. And a shard blade too, which is a massive sword, which is much lighter than it appears to be, just judging by its size. Sometimes called the third shard, is this beautiful ginormous stallion called a Rhyshadium. So basically a horse that's about double, if not triple the size of normal horses. They're pretty cool critters as well. Yeah, so just kind of a fun contrast there, seeing this is a character from the book, and maybe a bit of a retinue there too. I think this art is actually a piece taken from a larger piece of art from the other book too. So one really quick thing on the art, there's so much fantastic artwork in this, and this PDF I think is mostly pulled from the other 2 or 3 main books if you include the adventure, and it's just such a fantastic little reference guide. So super cool to see, and there's so much art in the other books. It's madness. Okay, anything fun there? So yeah, majestic beasts, very bigger than normal horses. Spren, this is another great shell here, by the way. I think new Nereg. Again, you can see more full art of it elsewhere, and it kind of gives me like dragon mantis shrimp vibes, and I'm here for it. Spren, though, they're kind of, it says here, so called spirits by the Shin and gods by the Unkalaki. They're really cool. So I think spirits is probably the most appropriate and easy term to kind of familiarize yourself with new players, or if you're not familiar with the idea of what Spren are. But there's a few different kinds. So for example, Lux Spren here, which kind of cater around and float around with their little arrowheads, a lot of the great shells and some other different critters. Wind Spren zip around in the wind. Rot Spren hang out on rotten things like this, looks like a Parshendi skull there, which is also grisly but really cool to see. Life Spren hang out in really lush verdant areas like the bottom of the chasm, so you can see some little green specks on the art there too. So these are the kind of things where if you really want to do a good job being evocative of the setting, you remember to mention that Spren are present. So for example, Shock Spren could show up around someone who's been surprised to see you, or if you get the drop on people in some sort of ambush encounter, Shock Spren might appear around their heads too, stuff like that. Anger Spren like bubbling bloody pools, Joy Spren like leaves, Fear Spren like globs glooping off of the floor. I think Sincerity Spren and Angst Spren are not mentioned in the book, so cool to see more things that aren't expanded upon in the books. There are some Spren that are more rare than others too, which makes sense, just given that we haven't seen these ones before. And again, it's just so cool seeing this setting that I freaking love being fleshed out with art, and more little blurbs that you can read about. So I kind of want to do a little series covering various aspects of these books that I enjoy, be it kind of interesting lore bits from the Stormlight Handbook character creation kind of stuff and different entities in there. There'll be a lot of spoilers in there, and also the world guide too. So here's an example of Glory Spren, little glowing orbs that show up when you're really proud of something or feeling quite glorious. In this case, this person becoming a father, which is very apt. World map here. So once again, not really going to get into any details of reading it. Lots of fun, cool places though, which we'll cover in the world book coverage. And very interesting looking supercontinent, lots of islands and stuff too. Speaking of interesting great shells though, there's fantastic pictures of what lives in the Reshi Isles. I don't know if it's in this book or not, but we'll cover that later for sure. Onwards. Cool. This we'll just touch on really quick. Nations and culture just gives a quick kind of vibe of what the various people of Roshar look like. As you can see, there's quite a few different people, different kinds of people, and I think they're considered origins or backgrounds, one of the two for the phrase for character creation, and you can be any of these, which is a lot of fun. But we'll just touch on that really quick so you can see an example of what different folks look like. I think one of the biggest surprises for me was probably a tie between Irali. Also, it's so funny reading all these names and words out loud sometimes for the very first time. So I'm good at butcher stuff, pronunciation-wise, for sure, but that's okay. And then also the Natan. I definitely thought that they were like a dark blue rather than light, but I'm guessing you could be a dark blue one if you wanted to. And then also the golden look, too, looking like a freaking goddess. I definitely pictured like blonde hair rather than the gold, and the gold is super cool. Alrighty. Anyways, we'll move on from there. Foreign Church, a kind of staple religion of some of the main players in the setting. Heralds of the Almighty. You could kind of consider them demigods, and it's really cool seeing all 10 of their art in one place, even if it is just kind of clipped smaller versions of it. I think demigods is probably the most apt way to summarize them. And some of this art was revealed online at different points, and then a lot of the rest of it is in like the end pages, the end sheets of different Stormlight books too. So really cool to see it all in one place. Parts of the world, once again, just examples of what different parts of the world look like. Pier Lake, one of my favorite spots, basically like ankle to waist deep lake with lucky fish. Good stuff. Oh, sweet. So Reshi Isles, I mentioned on the world map really quick. In the Reshi Isles, it's kind of a inland shallow sea, and there are native great shells there that are big as islands or mountains. So love it. There's also a picture, I think, in the world guide of a great shell, and it's like the focus of the picture, and it is so cute. Who knew an island crab could be so cute? I'm here for it. All right, so we'll keep on going. That's a really cool spot. So that's the home of the Unhalaki, who basically live on like hot spring mountaintops. And once again, just seeing like the different life and what the places look like. This is Alethkar, where a lot of the main characters are from. Example of a Thalen, who, you know what? The Thalens might actually be my favorite race with their sweet, funky, long white eyebrows. And yeah, distinctive Thalen eyebrows. I think it's quite common for them to put the eyebrows behind the hairs, which is just so cute. Yeah, Thalens are awesome. Onwards we go. Just more examples of like the peoples and such. This is specifically the Alethi. Awesome picture of the king at the start of the series, King Elhokar. This picture goes freaking hard. I think it's blown up in one of the other books too, and it looks sick. So another example of shard plate and a big old shard blade too. The shard blades and shard plate are always like, their silhouette is usually similar, but they're all very distinctive in how they're done, and some of the different characters will ornament their stuff differently too. Soul casting, basically a way to make people disappear or also transmute a substance to another. So example here being soulcaster to transmute crystal into wood. A soulcaster, how to describe a soulcaster and just artifabrians in general. They're kind of like a little mix of all of the trades and science mixed into one, basically. And so they use these fabrials and different gemstones to cause all kinds of different interesting interactions together too. So like maybe lifting, pulling, reducing, or increasing levels of pain and stuff like that. It's a pretty wild system. A big thing Sanderson's known for is having firm rules for his magic systems. And so, yeah, that's to do with Stormlight itself, and then also fabrials and all of the science of the setting too. So very cool stuff. Onwards, listeners. I think closest analog here is kind of like indigenous folks, and once again very alien looking when they're described, and so seeing them in an illustrated form is fantastic. Without getting into any details, they can shift their form to kind of different needs. And so these ones are war form, which gets natural carapace armor and extra strong bodies. And then there's also like nimble form, mate form, dull form, and a whole bunch of other ones. This art is also blown up elsewhere and goes super hard. So this is, I believe it's a character from the main book. We're not going to say who, just for, once again, I'm sure I've accidentally spoiled some things just by talking about all this, but a character from the book. Fighting off a whole bunch of listeners / Parshendi, punching that one in the face. And a listener child, which is really, really neat. I don't think we've gotten perspective of a listener child before in the books, but seeing the art of one is really cool. So how it differs, obviously, I don't think they can change their form until they become adults, but seeing a listener kiddo is super cool. And this piece of art is basically like a redo of the Way of Kings cover, if I remember correctly. So seeing it kind of done in like the more style of the RPG looks really, really cool too. Onwards, a changing world. Not going to really get into this. Like if you were about to play the game and playing like specifically in the setting as it's described here, this perfect spot to read. And I think that is basically it. So yeah, this handout is awesome. I said it earlier, but so much art, which is unreal. Like there's so many different things in the setting. It's a huge expansive world with 5 books, 5 more to go, other short stories. Like it's massive and also so strange, like so similar yet distinctly different from our own. And so having like the visual guides is clutch. Yeah, so I can't remember if this was a stretch goal or if it was offered from the very beginning, but such a good resource to put together, and like a lot of love put into it too, because it's well laid out. There's so much art in it, and yeah, that art is all pulled from elsewhere, but like this is the perfect place to compile the art is in this little handout. So yeah, awesome job to everyone on the Brotherwise and Dragonsteel team. Super stoked to kind of turn this into a little series covering various contents of the Cosmere RPG, because I freaking love it and I'm here for it. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.